great looking video requires great lighting, so let's take a look at how a few churches achieve this. In this video, I'm going to compare various looks from various churches and the kind of lighting setup that they use to achieve this. The first thing we notice about this scene is the centre stage. It's more brightly lit than anywhere else, and the light falls off towards the edges and back of the stage slightly. You'll also notice that the audience are quite dark. This removes any visual distraction and highlights the band. But the other thing I want you to notice is just how many lights they've got. On the sides, they've got 3 banks of lights. And in this shot from the rear of the stage, you can see the front lights and more lights at the side. This scene looks bright, but it's the same lighting that's being used for the whole stage. Again, notice all the lights at the side. The one thing you notice about this is just how many lights they actually have. To achieve the effect, they're using a lot of lighting at a low intensity. For the main message, the lights in the auditorium have been brought up, giving more even light overall. However, the stage is still slightly brighter than the rest of the auditorium. You'll also notice the teal background behind the speaker. Teal's a good colour for a background because it's the complementary colour for skin tones and makes skin tones look a lot better in your footage. A shot from a different angle reveals the dark sides, and again you can see that the side lighting is still on, helping to illuminate the scene. You'll notice that we can see the audience, but they're slightly dimmer lit, so they don't stand out in the image. Here you can see it more clearly. The speaker's slightly brighter than the background image. The audience is also blurred, they're out of focus, which makes him sharper in the image as well. This is a much more dimly lit scene. However, you'll notice it's not dark. There's still quite a lot of lighting. It's just all very low. They're using the lighting to create shadows. This creates more of an effect of depth in your image, making it look more three-dimensional on a flat screen. Watch as the lighting catches the singer's hair. Notice the sheer quantity of house lights. The singer's still quite well lit, but the audience can be seen in the background, although they're out of focus and blurred, so they're not as distracting. The lighting here looks quite even, until we zoom out and we see that the lighting falls off the further you get away from the stage. One of the most interesting things about this is if you notice they seem to have a very large diffuse white light. Here again you can see the drop off in light as you move away from the singer. She's slightly more brightly lit than the people in the background. The rear screen is creating quite a lot of backlight here, but overall the lighting's very soft. They appear to be using a lot of diffuse light, but notice the stage isn't overly bright, which keeps down the dynamic range, so the camera doesn't have to struggle with massive differences in light. There are lots of interesting things to take note of here. First of all, notice it's fairly even light. The speaker is a bit brighter than the rest of the audience, but not greatly so. There's also a lot of reflection from the metalwork at the back, and also just look at the number of lights in the ceiling. Here, notice that light that's pointing towards us, the blue one, that's shining off the wall to create illumination. Those blue diagonal lines behind the speaker are not lights, they're reflections off of the steelwork. The background isn't black because of lack of light. The background is black because the background is black. The light coming off of the steelwork shows that there are lights in the background, brightening the scene, making it easier again for the camera. Notice the doorway. It's overexposed, it's blown out. By making the lighting less extreme, we reduce the demand on the camera and therefore get a better picture. The reason the doorway was overexposed is that's not what the scene is lit for. The scene is lit for what we're seeing here. Yes, those are big expensive cameras that we can see on the right hand side, but the scene's been lit to make it easier for the cameras. Better cameras are not going to give you a better image if your lighting's not good. You really need good lighting to get good images. Look at the difference between the door and the speaker. All the detail's gone from the door because the cameras can't cope with that extreme difference in brightness. So what they've done here is they've kept the brightness more or less the same across the entire scene. This shows us that getting your lighting right is as important, if not more important, than how much you spend on your cameras. Notice the blue colour on the ceiling and the walls. Particularly on the ceiling, there are certain points where it's brighter than others, which tends to imply they're bouncing light off the ceiling. Again, that's going to diffuse the light and make it softer. Notice that the faces we can see are lit with white light, whereas the backs of people are lit with blue. This shows us that they've got different lighting facing forwards and backwards in the auditorium. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you found it interesting. If there's one takeaway, it's probably that you need lots of lights. They don't have to be particularly bright, but even lighting for video is much better than having brightly lit hotspots in your image. I hope this helps you to improve the lighting in your videos for your church.